Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. We have a very, very special guest for you today. Lizz Winstead is an American comedian, radio and television personality, and blogger. A native of Minnesota, Winstead is the co-creator of The Daily Show and served as head writer. And now she is the founder of Abortion Access Front. Lizz, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
I am so great. Thank you so much for having me, Egberto.
Absolutely. But before we get into one of the reasons you're here, because you're going to have a very special thing going on, I want to talk a little bit about what you think about the political climate that we're in right now. What are your thoughts? I want to kind of pick your brain. I remember in the old days, you used to be out there with us at Daily Coast, at the Netroots Nation, doing the morning show and keeping that place all revved up. How you doing? What are your thoughts on the politics these days?
You know, I feel really excited and energized since 2018 and really watching how people reimagined the midterm elections. They understood what it meant. Watching Black and brown young folks get elected, young folks, but they are young. Everyone's younger than me, it feels.
Come on now, you're still young lady.
I am, I'm young at heart. But, and just watching people demand more and demand excellence. And, we live in a country that was, the foundation is white supremacy and the notion of just sort of handing power to those who are assume they deserve it rather than have earned it. And to watch really interesting people challenge that notion and take no prisoners and demand not only a seat at the table, but demand that that table gets smashed and that a new table is built with the people and the voices that live in the world and in the country makes me feel really hopeful. I live in Brooklyn and I live in Minneapolis. I split my time, and I live in Ilhan Omar's district. And it's very exciting to watch a woman like that, and also to watch a primary. It was interesting. This is just a little anecdote that I'll tell you that gives me a real hope, is that Ilhan, who is a daughter of Somali refugees, right, wins a congressional seat in an 85% white majority congressional district. She was challenged in her race by a moderate Black Democrat, and the conversations that happened around Ilhan and her opponent were just about, what do you want for your district, right? Neither of them, there wasn't a race card played. It was like, we have two qualified people who come from backgrounds that are not of the standard white American traditional path, having conversations and debates about who's better for the district, right? And so that was a really cool thing to watch, and gives me hope that we can see more people debating ideas and then hearing through those ideas a variance of experience of how people walk the earth. Like, that's great. So I feel really excited. I feel excited.
I am excited. I'm positive. I tell you what, sort of adding on to that, the thing about it is, as people live together, move around together and so forth, it's amazing that what you find is everybody realizes we put on our pants the same way, and the thing that the other side have to do, and when I talk about the other side, I'm talking about anybody that's trying to divide people, right, is they have to find all these little avenues for division, because what people find out is, we like being together. We like, I'm from Panama. We like the salsa. The salsa is a whole bunch of different stuff, that is what we like. And that the fight right now is to keep people from not doing that. That's why I love the work that you do, because as you are doing your work, you're making us smile. Hell, the creator of The Daily Show. Come on, man.
Well, I think sometimes it's easy to break down, or it's easier to digest issues when you can lay out hypocrisy, use some humor. I often say, why did it take the Lincoln Project? People who are angry with the way that their party went, to have to point out hypocrisy in their own, they go so far, but like, why is it that humor is not used across the board when it comes to pointing out hypocrisy and where it comes from, because it's where, when you especially talk about access to abortion care and abortion rights, the hypocrisy is so profoundly rich when it comes to saying that you are pro-life, and then when you drill down the lives that they ignore, whether that's the lives of Black and brown people being shot at the hands of police, whether that is, brown children being caged at the borders, whether that is, poor folks who are trying to get through coronavirus and not creating a plan for with which people can sustain, small business owners. Like, when it comes to, when you say you're pro-life, it seems to be the lives that you are pro are potential life in the womb, a fetus, and bazillionaires.
Yeah,
If you're not one of those things,
you're
your
done.
life is kind of not really considered.
That is sad. I mean, but you know what was happy that Billy Graham's granddaughter, her name is Jerusha Duford, right? She came out and she said, for me, pro-life does not just mean life inside the womb. Duford replied, pro-life means different things as far as what we just talked about at the border, health, just like you mentioned before, healthcare, poverty, homelessness. All of these things show, for me, if you are going to be pro-life, this is what you've got to do. This is a woman in the evangelical movement considered a pro-lifer. And I
Mhm.
hate that word pro-lifer. I
I
think
do too. I don't use it.
progressives are the pro-life people, in my humble opinion.
I
You know,
agree.
I
I
think we,
agree.
you know, and what she was saying is that, evangelicals have got it all wrong, because they seem to worry about that they think
Mhm.
about that, but they don't care much about people. Now, again, you formed, you're still doing your comedy, you're still doing all your good stuff, but you also formed this very important organization, Abortion Access Front. And
Yes.
I'm glad you just went ahead and named it with the word,
Well,
because
I think, yeah, you got to say the word, because if you don't, why don't you? I often say, why is it that people will say, oh, reproductive rights, and that's all fine. But when we talk about what people are trying to legislate, they're trying to legislate access to abortion.
hmm
And I don't have shame around abortion. I've had an abortion. I feel like if we don't try to talk about it and really understand that if 1 in 4 people that can get pregnant have had abortions and will in their lifetime in their reproductive health, it's something that someone, you love someone, you have been encountered, you yourself may have also, had an abortion. And so if we don't talk about it and just return it back to its natural place, which is in a litany of reproductive choices that somebody might make in their lifetime, we're going to just end up being on the defensive. And I don't like using hot button language that's been given to me by somebody who is judgmental about abortion. I shouldn't be using that language because it often makes people who've had abortions and people who provide them um, feel othered. And I don't want the people who go to work every day, especially during a pandemic, providing this care for people, to ever feel like they're doing anything other than helping somebody with one of the myriad of obstacles that may be in their life. You know,
You know what is interesting, and over a period of time, my understanding has gotten so much better about it not just being a progressive issue, but being an economic, a huge economic issue. It's not only about, it's not only about the procedures, not only about what women go through. The economic portion is that this thing that women don't have full control. And I'm a man, so forgive me if I don't come across as I should, but that somehow we should have command of what you can do with your body. And worse, in doing so, it can have a material effect on your personal economy. It just baffles the mind when you take a look at it from a very practical point of view.
hmm
Your thoughts?
well, it's paternalistic, and it is also, you know, I thought that America, or what America purports to do, is to say that every single person the government shouldn't get in any way of somebody's self-determination, right? That's up to you. Like the government should keep that path clear. And the clearest path towards your economic security and your self-determination is the assessment and decision that you can handle handle having a kid or not, right? And so to put any sort of roadblocks in front of that is saying that you don't know what's best for you, which is a really scary place to be, because it's saying that the government and other people should be able to control your decisions. And B, it's saying, we're really not a country that wants to make sure that your destiny is yours. We're really a country that decides that you can think about some things up to a point, but the government is going to impose all of these regulations to get in the way of what you think is best for you. And that's pretty terrifying, especially when you think about, like, there's not a single medical decision that is imposed upon people who can't have kids to stop them from having that procedure. Not a single one.
You know what is interesting? I don't remember who the politician was, who the congressperson was, but she asked the question, can you name me one procedure against, or one law against men that tries to control any part or use of their body?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this conservative just stayed blank,
Mm-hmm.
could not
Mm-hmm.
come up with an answer. And then you see what it's all about.
And then you see what it's all about. And for me, and that's the whole thing, is we framed it as a women's issue for so long, and we've sort of put the onus on women. And part of that is sort of, how did the language develop in this fight? And I think, when we were first really fighting, it was kind of like, men, you need to just shut up. Like, you don't need to weigh in. We don't need you. You've enough. But then I think that on some level, we should have done a reframe, saying we need everyone's support to understand that we all want to work for the full agency of women. Here's the role men can play. You can support, you can uplift, you can make sure the voices of those who are subjected to this are the people who are leading the way and leading the charge. And you can make demands saying, if full autonomy of every person means something to me. And so I will not cast a vote for somebody who is going to limit that for any citizen. So that is why I'm here supporting, right? So I think we need to get back to that kind of language so that men feel like they can be involved, and give them, super great ways to be involved so that everybody is fighting this fight.
I consider myself a complicit ally. So taking command from women to say, hey, this is what you've got to do. And one of the things that I had got to do is, as soon as I saw that you were having some special thing, said, let Liz come and take command of Politics Done Right and tell us what she is going to be doing on Election Day.
So this is pretty great in the scope of, everybody feeling very nervous about the lines and about what's happening. Abortion Access Front, a part of our work is we're made up of comics and musicians and artists and activists who, before the pandemic, we were traveling around the country doing big comedy and music shows, and then having conversations with the providers in the towns we were performing in and the activists, so that our audience could learn what's at stake for reproductive access in their state. And then they could join right there with the locals on the ground, right? And so we've traveled around the country for 5 years. So we have great comedians who travel with us. So the comedians who travel with us, we decided, if people are going to have to stand in line for hours and hours and hours, we wanted to keep them there. And so at Abortion Access Front on our YouTube, it's at AA Front on Twitter, on Facebook, and then on Twitch with Comedy Hub, we're doing a 12-hour stand-up comedy marathon from noon Eastern until midnight, so that when you're standing in that line and you remember to bring your chair and your water and your snacks and maybe wear a diaper, I'm just saying, you want to just really be on it, and you're standing there,
yes,
you can pull open your phone and you can watch some of the best comedians in our country just telling jokes from start to finish live, as a support for you to just stay in there and vote.
Now, Liz, I'm going to post that on the after we air this. I'm going to also have a correspondent blog that will have all that information to try to bring folks and let people know about this, because you know what, they are going to be very well into. I don't know if you guys ever seen her perform, man. She's bad.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, it's
No,
really fun because we have like Alonzo Bowden from Whose Line Is It Anyway, and Jenny Yang, and Baron Vaughn, and Guy Branum, and the list is on and on and on of just
Erin
folks who,
Foley, Deanne Smith, Jessica Kirson. I mean,
yeah, I mean, people who have Netflix half-hour specials, people who are just like on series and have specials, and are actors and comedians in their own right. Greg Proops. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so it's just going to be a super fun way to just watch, because they're going to be giving shout outs to folks that are standing in line and just having a gas. So, you know, you can go, and all the information will be posted, I'm sure, on your website, so you can find it. But
absolutely. But let me ask you this: so are they going to run to selective cities and be in the line talking to people as well? Or are they going to be doing it at center location, or how are they going to do it?
so how we organized it was, it's, you know, comics have been one of the hardest hit groups of people,
I
musicians
know.
that perform, right? And so I feel especially honored that they're donating their time, to be able to do this. So what it is people who have comics who have produced shows, usually in live venues from around the country. That show is going to be an internet show.
Okay.
So there's shows that are out of Atlanta, and shows that are out of LA, and shows that are out of New York, and shows that are out of Chicago, and all these different cities that produce these shows. So each one of these shows has taken an hour throughout the day, and
Right.
we have a graphic that gives the whole lineup, and it's all listed. And so it's you can see all the people who are performing. You can go in and out, and if you've already voted and you're sitting there biting your nails because you don't know what else to do with yourself, and you've eaten your weight in, you know, Funyuns and ice cream, you know, take a break and watch, and you can just watch for a minute and like feel connected, because I think people need to feel connected on election day in a myriad of ways.
Yeah, I think they need to feel connected. But you know, the other thing that, well, I think your comedy is going to bring them some levity. I think it's going to make them kind of pacify them also. But my show, know what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell people, don't freeze. When I
Don't
say don't freeze,
freeze.
I mean don't sit down there and panic. We've got this. We just have
Mhm.
to execute it. We've
That's
got
right.
this. We just
That's
have
right.
to execute. And having folks like you making it easier for people, I think that is just wonderful that we can actually go out there and do what we've got to do, you
Well,
know?
and I think it's great to for folks to really tap into to like, what is it that I have to offer, you know? And I think I can gather all these really cool people and do this show. Other people are like, well, maybe I'm don't have the mobility, but I can like, you know, bake something and bring it down, or I can just, you know, cheer people on. You know, it's kind of like, I look at it like a marathon, and all the different ways that people support marathon runners.
Hmm.
You know, there's people that give them the water, there's like bands that are set up in all these little spaces. And I think I wish that we could, if it wasn't coronavirus, I guarantee you we would have done a live,
Right.
um, out there in the swing states situation. But you know, there's so many things involved with what's happening now in travel and everything, that, you know, some communities just don't have like full on comedy communities that they can
Right.
tap into. But you know, the ones that do have really stepped up. So
But
yeah.
not only that, I mean, I think in the way that you're doing it, you're showing the responsibility that we hope more people would show. And if more people showed that responsibility, this we wouldn't be in this crazy state that we're in right now. I mean, because I mean, it's just horrendous, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just horrendous. But anyway, is there anything that you want to add to before anything that I hadn't asked you that you want to say? Egberto, why the hell didn't you ask me this?
No, I think that it was really fun. You know, I just think that, you know, the one thing I just want to say is, no matter what happens in this election, we have work to do. And if you're somebody who cares about reproductive health rights and justice, and you're looking at this election and whatever way it goes, Abortion Access Front has an incredible volunteer program, and all these programs that are in place that people can sign up and help, because there's things that we need to do on a local level that are really important. Because if we have a Supreme Court and lower courts that are full of people who have been installed in a way that are not looking out for the civil liberties of people like you and I. We have to make sure that we work really hard to make sure we don't elect politicians on a state and local level that are going to put laws in place that are going to really affect the way we live, the way we vote, the way we breathe, and the way we, access our businesses. So, yeah.
Liz, you just brought up a very important piece of information. Now, you do a lot of funnies, but that you just gave something, and I think that is most important. Let's say that Roe versus Wade gets overturned for some reason. The fact that you build infrastructure in states, it then becomes a states' rights issue.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
Mm-hmm.
force your local politicians to do exactly what the federal government was doing before. So thank you for I think it's important for people to understand that because it's no longer national, they have not lost their power.
That's right. And I think that is, and it's easier to change hearts and minds, when you are face to face in your community, when you're with your neighbors and with your family and you're talking, and those are the things that, like, that's how it works. Storytelling and all of that stuff is really important. And so state and local politics is where all this happened. You're in Texas, what happened all the way to the Supreme Court and when all those horrible laws happened and Wendy Davis stood on that floor.
Yes.
Barack Obama was our president. That was
Yes.
and what happened in Texas, what a lot of people don't know, 26 other states passed that exact same law. And it was just like people were unprepared, right? And so just watching that stuff is what we really need to look out to see and do. So you have the power in your hands at home. Let's really strengthen our communities so that we don't go through a court system that has been stacked against us.
Lizz Winstead, the co-creator of The Daily Show and the founder of Abortion Access Rights. Thank you so kindly for having been
Thank you
on
so much for
Politics
having
Done
me.
Right.
Hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely, anytime. You take care, okay?
Thank you so much.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.